further ado, I'd like to welcome back up Mr. David Lowery, writer-director. I'll let him introduce the rest of...
I just want to bring up a couple of folks that worked on it. Toby Albrecht, Jameson Johnston, Liz Frankie, David Maddox, Adam Donaghy, all the producers who helped me make this movie. And then while they're coming up here, I mean, there's a lot of folks who helped make this in the audience, and if you're one of those people who is not afraid to stand up in a crowded theater, please stand up so I can say thank you for helping us make this.
So I guess my first question is, how do you shoot a movie like this with two very well-known actors in complete and total, I should say shrouded in complete and total secrecy in Irving, Texas? How do you pull that off?
You just don't talk about it.
Yeah.
And people respect that you're not talking about it.
And you've literally hidden Casey Affleck under a sheet, so that helps as well.
We weren't expecting it to stay a secret, but like
We hoped it would.
Yeah,
we
hoped
didn't want to, in case we failed, we didn't want to.
it's a short film.
Sully the name of Irving, Texas. And I would like to kind of go all the way back to the genesis of the idea. Like, where does this idea come out of for you?
It just kind of spontaneously combusted in my head, the way some ideas sometimes do. And
Yeah.
I know it's a lot of different things. It was like me not wanting to move to LA to work on Pete's Dragons. I love staying in my house in Texas, and it was about me loving to contemplate time, and it was about wanting to make a movie with my friends over the summer after having made a bigger one that still had a lot of friends, but was just, much bigger. And it was a long-standing desire to make a movie with a ghost that's represented by someone wearing a sheet, because I think that's a great idea.
It was interesting. I went back and read kind of the mythology of the bedsheet ghost, and of course it comes from like the burial shroud that they used to bury people in, but I think it's interesting that it really comes out of, in pop culture, artists being able to depict ghosts, and you looking at a photograph or a painting and be able to tell which one is the ghost, which is where it really comes from. And I think it's interesting that that's what you've essentially done.
Yeah, and all that's been digested into pop culture, so now when you write the word ghost on your phone, a little ghost that looks like that pops up, and it's a children's Halloween costume. I mean, the idea that something so silly and goofy can actually mean something so significant.
Yeah.
The idea of a ghost is a significant idea, but it's represented in pop culture and just in culture by this rather goofy symbol. And I love the idea of taking that and doing something like that.
Yeah. I think I remember reading when it first premiered at Sundance that you essentially kind of set out to remake Ghost in a way, except with a bedsheet. Was that an actual quote?
That was something that we joked about a lot. I did also say I wanted to remake Beetlejuice.
Yes.
Which did have people wearing sheets in it. So.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. One of my favorite Ryan Adams songs is a song called "This House Is Not for Sale." And you listen to it, and it's this very kind of sweet, somber, haunting story about these two people who have found each other in afterlife, and then you realize that it's just a song about Beetlejuice. Yeah, you should definitely. It feels like a very similar approach, but yeah, I love that you said that's awesome.
Sad story.
Yeah, exactly. So you have the idea and you write the script. What does the script for this movie look like? I imagine being a little less thick than normal scripts.
But it looked exactly like the movie. I mean,
yeah.
It had a couple more scenes in it.
Yeah.
And some of them were in different places, but by and large, it was the same thing that we showed here tonight, and it was 30-ish pages.
Wow.
It's like it kind of got bigger at one point, like to 34, and that was while we were shooting it though. So.
And how do you go to Casey, who you worked with before in Eighth and Body Saints, and say, I want to make a movie with you, but you're going to be in a bedsheet the entire time?
You text him.
The ghost emoji.
And
Yeah.
the idea that he doesn't have to show his face, I think he loves.
So it was
the goal with this was to make a movie with our friends, and after having made that other film with them, and luckily I was able to, include them in that group of friends, and they were down to come out and just make a movie in urban in secret, which was, I think, probably, liberating.
Yeah, and you mentioned your friends. You obviously have a bunch of them up here today, and you've been, you guys have all been working together for a long time and making movies here in a very aggressive way. I feel like every time you put out a movie, you're like already working on another movie. It's aggressive, but it doesn't seem like really anything has changed, whether you're making a movie with a giant CG dragon or just a guy in a bedsheet. It feels like a very same approach, and you're working with the same people. And do you guys all feel like it doesn't matter what the budget is or who's in it, you're making the same kind of movies?
And the car Rudy drives in the movie is the same car Toby still drives, which is the car he was driving.
Oh, it barely goes. It's not, it's a wedding chariot.
Yes. And it seems like you have kind of absorbed some of the actors that you've been working with as well, and you kind of have this group now that you're working with, and your next film has a lot of those same actors in Old Man and the Gun, and yeah, it's interesting. I think it's you guys are definitely putting, I think, Dallas on the map, and have been for a long time, but now people are paying attention.
It has happened before. That TV show.
Well, Dallas would have been a way better TV show if JR had come back and
We're just trying to the high water mark of RoboCop.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Let's take some questions from you guys. We're doing this kind of Comic-Con style. We have mics down here if you have a question.
To rush the stage.
I'm going to step past the light so I can actually see.
Here we go. First
I'm going to
question.
fall
Amy.
first off the stage.
So thank you so much for bringing this to the Texas Theater, and thank you to everybody, obviously, in the theater that was a part of it. I don't know if it was just the energy in the room, but the emotive reactions that I experienced throughout the course of it were just beyond anything else that I've seen at the festival. No offense to anybody else in the room that created or presented, but wow, really, so thank you.
Thank you.
And I wanted to say, I'm going to keep it short for the sake of everybody else who I'm sure wants to ask questions. What was the intention, what was the agency of all of the spectrum of emotions that went into this film? What was the takeaway? Because there were moments where I was laughing and crying at the same time, and I was angry, and there was so much. For instance, the kid with, the laser gun, and he's scared, but you're laughing at the same time, and it's bittersweet. There is literally a figure coming out in a bedsheet waving at a woman in flower sheets. It's sweet, it's funny, but it's also very powerful. And so I'm wondering, where does that come from? I know that we sort of nodded to the mythology behind these shrouded figures and burials and the mythology behind it. But for you, why? What was the agency behind it?
I wish I could give a really good answer to that question, so it was a really good question, but for me, making this movie was sort of an exercise in just operating on gut instinct and following the emotional arc on a very instinctive basis. So I didn't go into it like saying, okay, here's what I'm going to make, and here's what audiences are going to get out of it, and here's what I need to achieve, like at the 30-minute mark, the 60-minute mark, the hour mark. Like it was weird. I mean, and we all collectively were like, as we were making it, and I think I can probably speak for everyone in this room, like sometimes it was like we don't know what this is. Like sometimes it was too goofy, and we were just like, this ghost is. The trail will get caught in the door and it would be funny, and we're like, that doesn't feel right though. And so it's like this weird balance. But I did think that the image, that image could have some, majesty to it and some emotional quality to it that I couldn't quite put into words, but still can. But I knew that it was attainable, and that's what we were striving for. And so it was sort of every day we'd get there and start shooting and figure it out as we went along, even though we did have a script. And we would continue that process in the edit, like as we tried to figure out what shape the movie needed and the pace, and it was always definitely about like the emotions. It's an emotional experience, but I didn't have like a plan, and I didn't have an agenda, and I still don't. And for me, this is like the one movie of mine that I can watch and kind of forget that I made it because it works on me in a strange way too. And so, so I'm still figuring it out. Like I don't 100% know the answer to your wonderful question. Thank you.
My question is, what about the movie, the theme, like the script, your idea, led to the aspect ratio choice? And like, what about that, like, because it's very unique, and I expected to come in and didn't know what to expect with watching a movie in that ratio, but it was a really cool experience, it was different. So I was curious what the thinking was that went into that choice.
I've always loved that aspect ratio, especially in modern movies, because now when you know are watching a movie at the cinema or on your TV at home, you get the black bars on the side, and that does something interesting. Like I like seeing those. It gives me a perspective on the movie I'm watching that feels unique. And so I've been wanting to make a movie in that aspect ratio, and this one felt uniquely suited to it because it's about a dude who's stuck in a box, and so I felt like thematically it applied, and the claustrophobia that's implicit to that frame, or the potentially implicit to that frame, applied. And then, you know, we took it further by adding those vignettes on the edge, which just adds like this weird layer of nostalgia. And then, you know, the movie's all about letting go of nostalgia, but I'm a very nostalgic person, and so that just made me like looking at the image more. And so a lot of it was just personal taste, but there was like that thematic resonance that made it feel like it was the right choice for this film.
Hey, kind of going off of the idea of the square image. When those static shots were there for so long at some of those points, you got to really observe every single thing in the image, the way it was framed. You got to completely digest it. How long did you take for some of those long static shots to just make sure it was the perfect shot? Did you obsess over that, or did you really just kind of find something and know, I want the audience to be looking at this for 4 or 5 minutes without anything else?
It was a little bit of both, depending on the shot. And, you know, some of the durations were written into the script. And I did that so that everyone who read it would know that, like, yes, we really will be holding on this for that long. And other times, we just would, you know, hold on as long as it felt appropriate, or as long as, you know, it felt like there was something worth looking at. And in the edit, it was really just like, where do I feel it's right to stop it? Like, sometimes they have a natural ending, like, you know, Rooney walks into the house at the beginning of the movie, and I think it holds for like 47 seconds or something like that, and it just, you know, we had more, we had a little bit more, we could have done it, or we could have cut it short, but that just felt like the right time. Like, I was like, okay, I'm ready to stop watching this image now. I'm no longer getting anything from it, so let's hit the space bar, put an edit in there. And so a lot of the movie was cut that way. But there are other ones where, you know, the infamous pie scene was like, that was, you know, up to her. She, as fast as or as slowly as she wanted to eat that thing, that was, you know, it was going to be that long, and it was never going to be cut. We knew that, like, whatever she did, that was going to be the thing for that shot. And then there were other things we shot that we did shoot very, very, very long takes of, but that are now trimmed to like 2 seconds. And it really did just, you know, depend on the mood. It wasn't meant to be like a quote-unquote slow cinema experience, even though it does get there, like it dips its toes into that. But it, you know, there's a lot of sequences that cut very quickly as well, and it really just was like trying to find that right ebb and flow.
Thank you.
Back over here.
Yeah, so one of the scenes that really stuck out to me was where you had the 2 ghosts in the living room at the same time. And I was kind of, you know, since you wrote the storyline, I figured I'd kind of go into it a little bit more. But, I mean, was there any sort of intent you had in terms of the multi-dimensions of that? Or, like, is there a starting point in life? Like, what was kind of your philosophy behind having 2 ghosts at once as opposed to, like, a room of infinite ghosts or whatever the case was? I know you had, like, a whole scene of some guy kind of waxing philosophical in the kitchen. So, in terms of time and, like, ghosts and, like, life starting point, is there anything you kind of found interesting about that story?
Well, to speak to the dual ghosts in the room, oddly enough, that was like a spontaneous decision. We'd already done like 3 takes of it, and, you know, Rooney's walking out the door, and we're like, well, you know, when we shot this, you know, a second ago with her actually leaving, the ghost was standing at the window, so shouldn't he still be there, like an earlier version of himself? And so we got one of the extra costumes and put it on somebody, and did that. And it was just 1 take, and he was like, oh, that works, that's great, let's do that. But as far as time goes, I mean, yes, I'm fascinated by time on a quantum level, and I love the idea of it being a dimension that you can, you know, you can't really, but maybe someday, or probably not, but maybe like you could actually get outside of that. And the phrase I always borrow is Kurt Vonnegut's phrase from Slaughterhouse 5, which is getting unstuck in time. And I think that's just a great idea. Just conceptually, I like the idea that someone could manage to somehow find themselves outside of the linear qualities of time. And that's kind of what movie making is to me, because it's so temporally based. It's a way to mess with time. But I love the idea of a character finding, the same propensity within themselves to get outside of that straight point A to point B temporal trajectory. So there's no overriding philosophy, but it is like something I just love the idea of.
Thank you.
Back over here.
Yes, so there was two scenes in particular that really stuck out to me. The gentleman before me touched on one of those, the kitchen sequence, certainly the longest dialogue scene in the film. And we get this guy expounding on his philosophy. Then immediately after that, we see the lights kind of flicker as though that's the ghost's rebuttal to it. And then we've got the flashback sequence to settler days. And I was just curious what your motivation was and what you were trying to accomplish narratively with both of those sequences.
Well, to talk about the settler, the pioneer sequence first, that was, it wasn't meant to be a flashback, but more like, at that point, again, use that phrase, he's unstuck in time. So he's still moving forward technically, but he's wound up in the same, square footage somewhere in a different time period. And so it wasn't a flashback, it was just like the idea that he's gone as far as he could in one direction, and all of a sudden he finds himself stuck in another direction. And he's always stuck in the same place. And then the monologue in the kitchen is partially just like me trying to fumble my way through a justification for doing what I do. And it doesn't all add up, and it is, it's kind of like, it was meant to be like that drunk guy at a party who talks too much and kind of, monopolizes everybody's time, and at the same time what he's saying, he's fumbling towards some sort of, sincere truth. And that was me fumbling towards those same ideas. And I kind of felt in writing the script, we've had 40 minutes of mostly silence, and that scene, I think, comes at the 55-minute point of the movie, and it felt like it was the right time to have a breather, and to take a moment to grab onto something very tangible, i.e. dialogue, and have something that was just more grounded than everything else, which is very elusive and floaty, and that scene is just all about being rooted in that moment with this guy talking about very tangible ideas that are still highfalutin or whatever, but it is it sort of is a way to pave the way for the turn the movie's about to take. It's not it doesn't 100% apply to where the movie's going, but it paves the way for where it goes, and hopefully, in addition to giving the audience a breather, it sets them up for the rest of the film.
Thank you.
Ready?
Is there any emotional reason why you told the story in a comical sense about a real-life ghost who's attached to his own and family life, and realize that he has to get past that attachment? Is there any emotional reason on your behalf or anything that helped you create this film?
100%. I remember the house that I lived in 3 years ago, we were moving out of it. It looked a lot like the house in this movie, and I remember just the night we were leaving, we were sleeping on a deflated air mattress, and I was just I was wondering, why am I so attached to this house? Why am I so upset to be leaving it? It's like a rental house, we don't even own it. And I just was, kind of doing some deep personal digging about my own feelings about things and my own flaws as a human being, and the fact that I get attached to things too much. And so on an personal emotional level, this was a movie about that, about my recognizing the need to let go sometimes.
Thank you. And actually, really, it was pretty right on, on the nail. It was very intense. I like the grief scene. The actress is very beautiful.
Thank you.
Awesome. Over here?
Hi. This book is obviously very different than your film, but I wondered if Richard McGuire's short story, short comic here, and later graphic novel was an inspiration for you, or if you were aware of that at all?
It wasn't, but someone else told me about it the other day, and it like showed up from Amazon 2 days ago. So I'm actually, it's like sitting on my desk right now, and I can't wait to read it because it sounds phenomenal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Over here.
Feel free to answer this question on whatever level you want, and if anyone else wants to contribute. I'm just wondering, do you believe in ghosts?
Yes, I do.
Absolutely not. No. Definitely. I mean, skeptic in the haunted house, I would love it if there was ghosts. And please, if you know of a ghost and are aware of it, and you can like show it to me and scare the shit out of me, I would love it. It won't take much to scare me, but I would love to feel it.
I feel like if any theater is haunted in Dallas, it's probably this.
It's crazy because when I got the script, I was like floored because there's a scene in the movie that's literally kind of happened. My mom passed away, and in our house, a picture frame has fallen down, and different things have happened in the house, but I really do believe my mom is there.
What about you guys? So this is like the kind of thing people need to know.
Thought something ghostly happened, it always ended up being kind of a lame explanation. Like, I choose to believe in ghosts. It's much more interesting.
I don't believe in ghosts because I don't have any experiences with ghosts, but I'm open to ghosts.
That was lamer, sorry.
I don't believe in the afterlife or anything like that, but I do believe, I believe that my life is better believing in the possibility of ghosts, whatever they may be. So I like being scared at night, I guess, when things pretty safe.
Practice fear regularly.
Practice fear, right?
In my house.
I like Adam's open invitation for a ghost to visit him at any point.
I do the same thing. I will literally go out into the dark sometimes, like during the air conditioner or whatever, and just be like, all right, I'm scared as shit right now. But I'll just sit there and try and soak it up as much as I can. Because I want something.
It's go right here. Or wait, no, over. Yeah, back over here. Yeah, sorry.
So budget-wise, I'm curious as to why you use Casey Affleck like under the sheets rather than use another person the entire time.
It just, I mean, to be 100% honest, there were other people under there. They're in the scenes where there's, more than one ghost in the scene. Obviously, it's someone else. And there are where we definitely use someone else, but it was important to put it on him once or twice and then see how he liked it, and he liked it, and I was like, okay, great. I was afraid he would throw a fit or something like that, and was ready to never put him under it, but he felt protected in it, I guess.
This is safety.
And budget-wise, the least amount of time you have to have an actor in town, the better.
But I mean, budget-wise, why do we shoot 4x3?
But honestly, I mean, the emotion fully comes through that he's under there. You know what I mean?
Right. It's a character. Like the idea is like you've got a character that's got consistency, and it doesn't matter. It's like as long as that consistency is there.
Yeah,
that's it.
absolutely, 100%. Yeah, right over here.
This is for the producers. What about the story made you decide to spend your time and money making this movie?
We're locked in.
They're part of the David Lowery Mafia.
Yeah.
So then, why this one and not another one?
David sent us an email with a picture of a ghost in a sheet and said, "This is our next movie," and we said, "Okay."
I will talk all night. I'm trying to. There's really I don't know. It's exciting. We're here in Dallas, like you said, and that's exciting. And making a movie at home is exciting. We just got back from Cincinnati, where we had to go away, shoot a movie that was based in Dallas, but we couldn't shoot it here. We spent, 6 to 8 months in New Zealand and had to edit that movie in Los Angeles. It's amazing to be home and to build the community here and be a part of it. So that is an exciting thing. But as far as the content of it, it's just an exciting thing. I mean, I don't know. It wasn't simple. Short answer. We knew it wasn't going to be easy. And would it work? And that's always a fun challenge, right? And we set it up to fail. Or we set ourselves up to failure was okay. So we made it within a box that we could afford to make it in. And we were, not foolish about it.
Yeah, and we are actually all friends. We hang out all the time when we're making movies and not making movies. So that's the real answer is it's just like we're friends and we make movies. So it wasn't a producer-y sort of decision.
David Lowery and I used to live in David Maddox's office secretly. We'd get up really early in the morning and pretend that we had gotten there before he had.
So I'll say I've been, helping. I just found that out. Oh my God. So I've been trying to help these guys out throughout the years with whatever bizarre project they're working on. So Toby came and said, "Hey, David Lowery wants to do this movie about a ghost that's a guy wearing a sheet." And I go, "Oh, great, David's doing a comedy." "No, it's not a comedy." Count me in. I have no idea what this thing was going to turn into, but it turned out quite interesting.
I would just say that when I got the script, it completely resonated with me on many levels, but I'm just a huge fan of David Lowery as an artist and as a human being, and so the opportunity to work with him was fantastic, and also with producers like Toby and James and stuff whom I wanted to learn from and watch, and so it was a great experience. I learned a lot. Thank you guys so much.
You're welcome.
I'll say I went to high school with David Lowery, and I've seen him grow, and fortunate to work on his first film, and I love him and I trust him. And when I read the script, I mean, if anybody else had sent it to me, I would question things, but it's true. I cried when I read the script, but I mean, really, what killed me was the Will Oldham speech. I knew it was written for Will Oldham because of you guys as Pioneer, and I don't know. I just trust this man. He's an amazing artist, and I think that it shows.
There you go.
Hi. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Hello.
This is, to me, in my mind, one of the greatest things about temporality since the cinema of Alain Resnais. What do you hope, besides making motion pictures or things involving a family or anything like that, what do you hope to do before you shove off this mortal coil most?
Oh, man. I can't answer that, man. That's a big one. I'm in this zone right now where I'm trying to live moment to moment, so thinking about the future is not on my agenda at the moment, although I do think about it all the time, but I'm trying to get more present. But I mean, immediately I hope to make a movie that's better than this one, because I hope each movie gets better and better, so that's the goal, and I'm trying to figure out beyond that what else there is, because I have a very limited perspective on life. So it's like, oh, I'm gonna go make a movie, that's great, that's all I'm gonna do. But that's a great question, and I need to figure it out. So I'll go home tonight and work on it.
Thanks for coming down with it.
I try.
So I'll wrap up with a few questions. I noticed Shane Carruth in the credits there, and there's definitely some of his sensibilities. What was his involvement in the film?
He was on the ground with us while we were shooting and doing the assembly, because I needed to know that it was working.
Yeah.
Which was like a constantly daunting thing every day. I was like, is this movie working? So he was assembling it and wondering what the hell are these guys doing? Like, he literally told me.
And that's coming from the guy who made Upstream.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
But he put together an assembly, and then he had to go off and work on another project, and so I finished cutting it. But he freed me up to not be linear. So initially, this was going to be a very straightforward, one scene would lead to the next, and it would be point A to point B to point C to point D, and that would be it. And he was like, why? And he started cutting it with all sorts of crazy flashbacks and just really messing around with the continuity of it. And we obviously didn't go as far as he was doing in the assembly, but that definitely, seeing him do that, opened up the opportunity to say hey, yeah, this movie is dealing with temporality. Why are we being so?
Yeah.
Because the whole process was originally going to be a very rigid movie. It was every shot was going to be a tableau. It was going to never have a close-up in it. And gradually, you know, as you figure out the movie you're making, while you're making it, those rules fall away. And the one he helped me break was to not be so beholden to linear thought process.
Yeah.